Hi, I'm Becky Droz. Thank you for tuning into the Gorilla HR podcast. So, a survey by the American Society for Training and Development reported that 75% of executive credit some of their success to having mentors. Working with a mentor is just one way that individuals can develop their leadership skills, but it's certainly not the only way. My guest today is Jim Carlough. Jim is a seasoned business strategist, speaker, and author of The 6 Pillars of Effective Leadership, a roadmap to success. He has over 30 years of experience transforming teams and driving business growth. Jim is here to share his philosophy that leaders aren't born, they're developed. Jim, thank you for joining me today.
I am so excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this, and we're going to have a great conversation.
Yes, absolutely. So let's go ahead. I would love to hear a little bit about the 6 pillars of effective leadership.
And I would love to talk about that. That would be great. So let me give you a little backstory of how it all started. A couple of years ago, I was thinking, I got to think about what I'm going to do when I retire. And I thought about, I have 2 options. Well, I can't play golf every day because I don't play golf. I can't go fishing every day because that's just too boring. And if I sit at home and do nothing, my wife will just leave me a list every day of stuff to do that I would hate to do because I can't do any of the things she wants me to do. And it'll end up being pulling weeds or doing, anyway. So I said, why not do something that I've been doing all along, but trying doing it at scale, and that's mentoring people.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, okay, so if I'm going to mentor people and I'm going to do it at scale, I have to have some credibility. So I think I better write a book. So I started going through all the people I mentored for the last 25 years, and I started making a list for each one of some of the characteristics that I thought they were missing in leadership that I think is important.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a list of about 15 to 18 items, and I said, I cannot write a book and ask people to implement 15 to 18 items. So I started
that would be a lot of
carving.
pillars.
Correct. I gotta get this manageable. And so I ended up with 6 pillars, and they are 6 pillars that not only have guided my career, but also people that I've mentored have adopted them, and they're also timeless. AI can't replace them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the things that really, I think, are differentiators between good leaders and not good leaders.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it started. So I wrote the book. It came out over a year ago, or just over a year ago, 14 months ago, 15 months ago now. I've sold almost 5,000 books, and I've not done any advertising. The only thing I've done is guested on podcasts like yours. And the word just continues to spread, and the momentum continues to spread. So it's gaining a lot of traction. And part of it is because as I talk about the pillars, I give you a little story about them, a real life story. And so in the book, we do that with every chapter. You talk about a pillar, talk about where I used it or how it impacted me, and then tell you how to implement it. But I don't stop there. I also then give you names of real people, dead or alive, who use that principle in their leadership style.
Mm-hmm.
So Nelson Mandela's quoted, Abraham Lincoln's quoted, then some more contemporary people like Jeff Bezos is quoted, and they've used these pillars successfully in their leadership. And so I'm pleased, and the one thing I like the most is people who know me, who have worked with me, who have read the book, have said, I can picture you sitting next to me saying those exact words, which was very, very important for me. I wanted people to be able to know that it was real, and if they knew me, that it sounded like me. And then in some of the reviews we've gotten, the reviews have been interesting because they've been they've been phenomenal. On Goodreads, I have a 4.98 rating. Right? Not even
My book club would support that, and we always go right to those reviews.
Correct. And on Amazon, it's 4.4, so it's a little bit lower. But I'm lucky. To me, when I wrote it, I didn't expect anybody to give me a 5 or a 4.
Mhm.
It was the first time I wrote a book. But it's interesting because some of the comments people have said, I feel like this is a journey with a mentor who's giving me their life story of how to be successful. And that really touches me when I hear people say that. And so
When you've
let's
mentored in the past, how did you come to be their mentor? Is it something that just naturally or organically happened, or were some of these kind of structured relationship development?
So 25 years ago, I worked for a technology company, and they actually had a true leadership development program.
Hmm.
And part of that program was mentoring. And people had mentors. And that's really when I started mentoring people. And some of those people were people that one person was in my area and worked for me, which I don't usually recommend.
Hmm.
But the others were from other areas in the company. And then as I moved on to other companies, I decided to open myself up to anyone who wanted to be mentored.
Hmm.
And so that's how that evolved. And so now I just want to do it at scale.
Yeah.
So
I
let's talk a little.
worked for an engineering company years ago, and like, so kind of mid career, maybe early mid. And same thing, we had a formal mentoring program in place. And I was kind of introducing the program and talking people to think about in the organization. Like, we have some people that have said that they're willing to step up, but there might be others if there's somebody that you really think might be good. And I remember somebody asked me to be their mentor, and I was so surprised and honored that they asked for that. Somebody on the technical side who said, no, you know the ins and outs, and you know the things that are going to help me like advance in my career. And I just remember, but like, I was really touched by that.
Yeah, it I enjoy mentoring because I enjoy helping to see people develop.
Hmm.
I enjoyed being a dad. I guess I'm still a dad, but they're all off the payroll and off the cell
Hmm.
phone bill, so I don't know what that counts for. But anyway,
Pretty
um,
soon it's going to switch and you're going to be on their bill.
um, they don't understand that yet, but they somebody's going to have to pay to take care of us. That's for sure. Anyway, but let's talk about the pillars. So let's
Yeah.
talk about the first pillar, which I call the non-negotiable pillar, and that's integrity.
Hmm.
To me, we around the world have lost our guardrails with regard to integrity.
Hmm.
Whether it's corporate America or whether it's governments plural, I don't mean just
Hmm.
the United States, we are not a trusting or forthcoming as our ancestors were. And I'm very disappointed by that. And so people who know me know I lead and live integrity every day. And let me tell you when this started. Back in 1983, I graduated college. That same year, I ran for local political office in a small, tiny town I grew up in of 12,000 or 11,000 people. And I won. And a few weeks later, the city manager asked if I would come in and talk to him. So
Hmm.
I went in and I sat down and I talked to him. And he congratulated me, told me how successful I'll be and how smart I am, which I think was overstated. But anyway, um, then he said to me, I want to ask you to do me a favor. And I said, uh-oh, I didn't even get sworn in yet. And somebody's asking me for a favor.
Yeah.
Oh boy, what did I sign up for? But it really wasn't that at all. And what he said to me was, he said, every night when you put your head on the pillow and before you close your eyes, I want you to ask yourself one question. And I said, okay. And he said, that question is, did I do anything today for my own personal self benefit that was
Hmm.
at the expense of another individual, group of individuals, or organization? And then he went on and said, if you answer yes to that question, you have to do two things immediately. The first thing is you got to figure out how to unwind it. And the
Hmm.
second thing is how to make sure you never do it again.
Hmm.
That hit me like being hit with a brick on the side of the head.
Hmm.
And It really made me think, and it changed my life, because from that moment forward, I asked myself that very question every night, even to this day. I have never answered it with a yes. And so to me, integrity is the column that holds up the pitch of the roof. That this has got to be the strongest piece, or the strongest beam or architecture or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Because without it, you cannot be, if you can't operate with integrity and transparency,
Yeah.
you can't manage effectively because your
Yeah.
team won't believe you.
Yeah.
Not only that, the other pillars, such as empathy and compassion, if a leader who's not transparent or doesn't have integrity tries to show compassion or empathy, they will not be believed.
Yeah. It's because it's not genuine, and
It's
nobody's
not
going to believe that that's authentic.
correct, and it comes off that way.
Yeah.
And considering today that most companies don't have leadership programs, there's nobody to really guide those individuals, and 85% of managers are what are called accidental managers. Somebody left a position, they went into that area, picked the best technical resource,
Yes.
and
Yes.
said, "You're going to be a manager,"
Yeah.
and congratulated them, but did not give them a roadmap to follow.
Yeah. They said, here's
That's
where you go to approve the timesheets, but they didn't give them anything else.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct. They may have helped them refresh their from business school or whatever how to read a financial statement, but they didn't tell them the important things of how to deal with people. And what ends up happening is 18 to 24 months into it, that leader's burning out because they can't handle the pressure. They can't handle what's going on. And their people are so dissatisfied. That's where we get this, the silent resignation stuff, that goes on. People are just hanging on until they
Yeah.
can find their next job.
Yeah.
And so the 6 pillars fixes that. And if people follow the program, which besides the book, I do offer cohorts for individuals to join. And I also have a 3-day workshop for corporations because I do really want to do this at scale. So, so that's the first one, was compassion. I'm sorry, was integrity. But when we talk about compassion and empathy, people sometimes get them confused. Showing compassion is understanding what the person may be going through, but maybe potentially you can't help them solve it. Whereas empathy is showing concern and understanding, but also helping them resolve it. And so when I talk about empathy and compassion, I talk about a time when in the early 2000 days, I worked at the technology company I was talking about earlier, and we made claim systems for health insurance companies. It was one of many things that we did. And one of those products was old green screen technology and not Windows-based technology. So there may be some of your listeners that will remember green screen technologies. But we made the decision we were going to sunset the technology because we had introduced 2 Windows-based platforms that were more state of the art. So I had the department that had the green screen technology people, and I had to somehow tell them that their jobs were going away, but they couldn't quit today because we have to support 30 some customers, and it's going to take us 3 years to convert everybody. And I didn't know what to tell them. And I really wrestled with it for a few days. And I called one of my mentors at the time and I said, "I've got a problem and I don't know how to handle it." And I told him what the problem was. And he said, "Good luck. I don't know what to tell you to do." And so my sole goal was to not have anybody quit before it was time for them to roll off the team.
Yeah.
So what happened? When I met with them, I made them 3 promises. Promise number 1 is you would be given as much notice as feasibly possible based on the schedule of when somebody's going to convert. which means since the average implementation was 8 to 12 months, people would have 8 to 12 months to be thinking about what they want to do next.
Mm-hmm.
And that's ample time to kind of set a plan in motion. But I didn't stop there. The second thing I promised them was that if they wanted to stay with the company and still work in the same area, but with the new technologies, I would make the training available during the workday, not at
Mm-hmm.
lunchtime, not early morning, not at night, but during the day. But I didn't stop there either. I made them a third promise. The third promise was if you decide you don't want to stay at the organization, I will personally help you find a job on the outside that fits your expertise and also fits your family's financial needs. And guess what happened? Nobody quit before it was time for them to quit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I achieved my goal. But something else happened that I never expected. About 2 years into this, maybe a little bit more than 2 years into this, I get a call from HR asking if they can come and see me. I never like calls from HR when they say they want
No,
to see you because
that
it's
never
never
sounds good.
no. And two women came to my office. My boss wasn't with them and they didn't have an empty box. So I felt a little bit better. I wasn't being escorted out. So that we got past that. And they sat down and they said, we want to talk to you about your group in California. And this was the team with the green screen. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, okay. And they said, well, do you remember 2 months ago when we had the employee satisfaction survey? I said, yeah. And she said, well, we want to talk about that and we want to talk about this team. And I said, how bad was it? And
And they said just the opposite.
they said just the opposite. They are the happiest people in the entire company and they're losing their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
How? Why? What are you doing? And I told them that the three promises that I made to them. And we sat there and they said, you basically took all the worry away from them. You put it all on your shoulders. And which is really the truth. I did. And so none of them had to worry. They all believed because of I operate with integrity. I was telling them the truth. I was transparent with them. And nobody quit before they were supposed to. But I never expected that they would have the company was 22,000 people.
Wow.
Never expected this group of 25 to have the highest satisfaction rating of an employee population.
Well, I think being
That
so transparent with them and letting them know this is what's happening and these are the options goes a long way in the sense that if you don't provide that information and that support system, they'll create their own story. And then that's what's going to lead to the disengagement and the people quitting and being unhappy.
correct,
Yeah.
correct, absolutely correct. So um, every at that point, we started a conversation of can we repeat that
Mm-hmm.
behavior when we have to downsize other areas of the company?
Mm-hmm.
And so they actually took that with them away, and it became the methodology that we used when we were downsizing entire departments.
Yeah.
But again, so there's some compassion in there, but there's also empathy in exactly what I did in my actions. And so now we've covered half of the pillars. And so the next three pillars are focus and stability are the next two.
Okay.
And I like to describe those as with examples. From a stability perspective, it's showing up the same way, same look and feel, same smile every day, regardless of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
If I walked in one day looking angry, everyone else will react negatively to that because that's not giving them psychological safety. And today, employees need to feel psychologically safe in their environment. If I come off the handle and scream all the time, it's the same thing. I'm showing an instability or lack of maturity from a leadership perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So stability is being the same person every single day. At the same time, focus is also important so that people don't lose the sight of what we're trying to accomplish. And the best way I can explain that is a story about Jeff Bezos in the early days of Amazon. Amazon started in his garage, and he was an online bookseller. And as he grew, they eventually had a bigger office. And during those early days, they had they got beat up heavily for having very poor customer service. And so what Jeff did is he went to the head of the customer service department and said, "We have a problem, but I'm not going to ask you to fix it." He said, "I'm moving my desk tomorrow down to the customer service department." Now, today he can't do that because Amazon's everywhere. But he moved his desk to the customer service department, and he reported to that desk every single day for several months until he figured out exactly what he had to do to fix all of the issues to turn everybody from unhappy customers to happy. And he went back to the manager or the director over that area and said, "Here's the plan we're going to implement." And that to me is the type of focus people need to have on the job. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've seen that in some facilities. I worked in a manufacturing facility for several years, and we had a lot of the us versus them, and the people on the production side of the wall and the people on the leadership side of the wall. And we had a new leader come in who said, "All right, those of you that are department managers, your desk is being relocated. You're not sitting in an office. You need to be not just occasionally out in the production areas, you need to be out there all the time." And so we got some pushback from people, but that very thing happened where they put them out and said, "You've got to really be in it to experience what your employees are feeling and seeing to be able to help with some of those solutions where there are those problems." And yeah, I agree, that makes such a huge difference.
Absolutely correct. So there's 5 of the 6. The last pillar is humor. And I get asked all the time, why humor? Humor to me, I use strategically at certain specific times. It is not showing up at the water cooler at 10 a.m. every day with a monologue. I use it to kick off meetings. I use it to redirect conversations, especially in meetings when we get off topic. But I also use it to diffuse tension and anxiety and get people to just relax. One of the things I say all the time is, and I don't mean any disrespect to surgeons out there, but I always say, we're not performing open heart surgery. Nobody's going to die on the table today if we don't take our time with this, think through it, and get all of the inputs that we need in order to make the right decision. And so, to me, humor becomes a strategic weapon or strategic tool in my arsenal in being able to relate with and humanize myself with the teams that I lead. Because when they can laugh with you, not necessarily or at you, when they can laugh, when everybody can laugh together, it changes the dynamic.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm most proud of is when I look at my entire career, my attrition rate, voluntary attrition rate, has never been above 5%.
Wow.
Corporate America today is between 10 and 15%. I guarantee that if people followed this framework, they would have the same success. Because I know managers who are following it who have that same effect. And so
Yeah, I think it's taking these pillars, and if you use them together, I think it takes away so much of what I feel like I see now, which is performative. And so whether it's leaders or activism, people putting something out there that they feel like, oh, this is as a leader what I'm supposed to say or what I'm supposed to do, but without those other pieces behind it, it's an act and it's not sincere. And to your point before, people see that and they know it. They see right through you.
They see right through you. You're not going to have a high producing team. You're not going to have a committed team, and they'll be looking for their next job.
Yeah.
And the one thing is, if the moment you lose someone's trust, you virtually can never regain it back to where it was,
Yeah.
whether that's in your personal life or in your business career.
Yeah.
People today, trust is so critical. People don't buy on price, people buy on trust because they know if they trust that I'm not going to fail them, they know that they're not going to get fired for making a decision to come and work with me or my company or my
Hmm.
organization. And again, even though they're not employees, it's that psychological safety net that we all seek. But the one thing about humor that I do want to say is when I do use humor, it is always self-deprecating humor about me. I never pick on somebody. I don't
Hmm.
pick on somebody's length of hair, color of hair, or how they're dressed. Um, there was one guy who he must have had a collection of 100 different sneakers, and he always came in with a different color pair of sneakers every day. And I called him into the office one day and I said, I got to tell you, I'm having a really, really hard time with your sneakers. He said, you don't like my sneakers? I said, I love your sneakers, but you have so many colors of your sneakers. I want permission to make fun of the sneakers every now and then in front of people. And so he gave me permission to do that.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't believe it's our place as leaders to pick on people.
Hmm.
But I do believe you have to make the environment enjoyable for them to be in. And I think a little humor here and there goes a long way.
Yeah. Well, I
And
think the
so
humor can help make that environment where maybe sometimes it's not enjoyable because there are negative things happening. But if you can have the humor and build those relationships where you get that trust, then when the things are not so enjoyable, you've got the relationship that you can still support each other and get through it together.
absolutely correct. And whether or not it's an emergency or non-emergency, coming with that same stability to
Hmm.
the table, if the trash can's on fire or if you're just having a bad day, you won't have panic.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just won't have panic. And again, you don't want your teams to panic. You don't want them to
Mhm.
start running for the hills. You want to keep them, and you want to keep them motivated, and you want to help them grow and develop.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I do, and I've been told not everybody does this, but every year when we do performance reviews and we set goals for the new year, I ask everyone to pick one personal goal that
Hmm.
may or may not be related to work that they
Hmm.
want me to help them achieve. And I think people when they first hear that coming from my mouth are like, "What?" Um, but I'll give you an example. A few years ago, I had a woman that worked for me who said, I really appreciate you asking me because I could use some guidance. I want to be on the board of like a dog rescue nonprofit organization. And I have
Hmm.
no idea how to do it, but I want to pick that as my personal goal. And I said, I don't know anything about it, but we will figure it out together and we'll make it happen.
Well, and I love
And
that because we bring our whole selves to work. We can't shut it off. So even though I understand the perspective of we want to bring ourselves and be that stable person, even when things are going crazy and the trash can's on fire, I love that asking people, well, what is a personal goal you're working on? Because they're working on it when they're at work too. It's not like they shut off. And so it's nice to say, you value me as a whole person in addition to what I'm providing to this organization.
that is correct. And I view my job as in leadership as to be able to tell when you walk in the door in the morning whether you are yourself or something happened between
Mhm.
last night and today and things are different. Are you holding the coffee cup lower than you normally do? Is the smile not there that you normally have? And it's that time when the leadership has to kick in, and you have to approach people, and you have to engage because if I can help them and get them past that, or even I can't, and I can just give them time, it solves so many things. I'll give you an example. A couple years ago, I had a single mom who worked for me. with an absent father. And I had noticed it was the end of July. Her son was 12 years old at the time, and I realized that she hadn't taken a vacation. And so I called her on a Wednesday morning, and I told her, I said, look, I said, you haven't taken a vacation. Your son is 12 years old. There's no dad in his life. You need to go spend time with your son. So here's what I'm going to do. You're going to turn your computer off. You're going to turn your cell phone off. And I don't want to hear from you till Monday. No emails, no nothing. And I don't want you taking it as PTO time. This is time I'm giving you to spend with your son at a time when I think how I was at 12 years old, and the fact that I needed a parent or parents, which I had, helping me through that stage in development. And like a true good salesperson, she said to me, can I negotiate that? And I said, negotiate it? No. And she said, well, let me tell you why. She said, I promised the customer a deliverable by this Friday. I know you don't like us to miss deliverables, and I will be letting the customer down if I don't get that done. If I promise to take the time next week, will you still honor it? I said, yes, I will still honor it. So the following week, she took Wednesday, Thursday, Friday off. The following Monday, first thing she did is called me, thanked me for forcing her to do it. And then she got sort of emotional because she realized how important those several days were with her son, and how much she was missing of her son because she was getting so deep into work that he wasn't getting her attention.
Yeah, I'm
And
so glad that in that situation you were able to create that opportunity for her to be able to do that and to take that time.
correct.
So you have shared the highlight reel, we'll call it, of the pillars. Where can people find you if they want to get the book and read the book, or if they want to take one of your seminars? Where should they go to get you?
The book is easy. You can go to Amazon,
Okay.
or you can go to my website if you want an autographed copy of it. And I'd be more than happy to autograph a book and send it out to you. My website is simply my name all squished together.com, jimcarlough.com. And there there's some free assets that you can download, um, all based on leadership, but some things that you can do on your own. I think it's important to share. So I have some things out there. But then if you want to get involved in one of the workshops, or if you're a company and you want to get involved in the workshops, just send me a note and I'll be glad to send you material and talk to you about it. There is some information about both the cohorts and the workshops on the website, but it's not extensive. It's probably more important to have a 20-minute conversation about the details of it with you, or if someone's listening, to walk you through what the program entails and what the homework might be, or how much time you'd have to commit to become successful at it. So
Awesome.
anyway, I'm starting, those cohorts just started up. So I have a new one starting every couple of weeks. So if anybody's listening, they want to get involved in that, just reach out to me and we'll make it happen.
Awesome. Well, Jim, thank you so much for your time today. And I appreciate you sharing information about your book and your philosophy and experiences with leadership. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm hoping this resonates with your audience, and I'm pretty sure it will.
All right. Thank you all for tuning in today and listening to my conversation with Jim. I hope that you do what you can, create some opportunities, and serve as a mentor for others where you're able to help. Have a great day. Thank you.
That's it for this episode of the Gorilla HR Podcast. We hope you found some unconventional wisdom and actionable advice to help you in your own HR journey. Remember, we're all working together to build better workplaces. Want to join in the conversation? Send us your questions, stories, and maybe even your own guerrilla tactics to podcast@gorilla-hr.com. And if you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and share with your network. Until next time.